Hello and welcome to another episode of Distory. I am one of your hosts, Kirk from WalrusCarp.com, and of course, always with me is Kate, our co-host, the Disney Cicerone, aka smartest person in Disney that I know. Tonight's episode is going to be all about sightlines, and sightlines, of course, is we are talking about why are there certain visual representations that happen in Walt Disney World, and specifically, how does that evoke either certain physical or emotive responses or help with the following elements? Hey, what's going on?
Hello. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good.
Oh, you okay?
Yeah.
It was just like a little downtrodden.
I'm just doing that, pre-vacation craziness. So, being a mom and having a job and trying to balance it all. So, tired.
That is a life that I think everybody understands if you have kids. Just in general, it's always busy, and then forget about it when it comes to, because guess who's the burden of packing is all on you. You are it.
Yep.
Yeah.
I know. I think Elliot looked at me yesterday and he was like, thank you for planning the trip and prepping the food and doing the grocery shopping and packing the bags.
And doing it all.
Just like doing it all.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's mom life, right?
It really is. It's okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally. I got technologically a little bit advanced for tonight. You ready? Because I was thinking about it. There's not like, I personally haven't taken a billion pictures and videos of sight lines. I really haven't. Even when I was in the parks, I was like, I should probably take pictures of this. But your mind's not really thinking about it. So I do have some pictures that I found on the internet that I think are relevant. But wait, what do we got? Woo! Google Earth. Woo!
Look at that.
We can zoom in. We can move it around. We can get any which way.
Brilliant.
This is, yeah, right. This is. Oh, whoa! This is crazy. Look at that.
Look at that.
It's yeah. So nobody said I know how to use this though. Here we go. There we go. But yeah, look at that. We can.
That's great. What a brilliant idea.
We can be like, oh man, that's like almost holding the castle. It's almost hiding it. But this was Christmas time on Google Earth.
Yeah.
Look at that. See that Christmas tree?
Yeah, giant Christmas tree.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I figured, because there's going to be a lot of times where it's like, oh, I wish I could show this one part of this one thing or this one whatever. Well, now we can
go everywhere.
Try to, right, exactly. So I had done a very brief intro, so let's do it again. Welcome to another episode of Distory with Kate, the Disney Cicerone, and myself, Kirk, from Walrus Carp, and we're here to geek out about our favorite theme parks. Tonight's episode is all about sight lines. And what are we going to talk about sight lines? What is a sight line? Well, it is a line of sight, aka where do we see things, and what are we supposed to see or not supposed to see, and how does Disney utilize physical structures? We talked about how colors evoke certain emotions and feelings, but tonight is all about discussing how the physicalities of the park and the buildings of the park and the foliage of the park and the way that they place things impacts your experience and really the storytelling elements.
Yes, absolutely. It's so it's a little bit of sightlines, it's a little bit of maybe forced perspective. We might talk a little bit about that.
Stop, forced perspective. What about reverse forced perspective? What? Make things smaller? Why would you do that?
What?
Anyway. I like it.
Oh, goodness. Well, you were in Main Street, USA. So I think we should maybe just start there because I feel like it's a natural place to begin.
It is a natural place. Yeah, and who doesn't want to be right down the middle of Main Street? Actually, we probably aren't even going to start off right down the middle of Main Street. I feel like we're not even going to be in the park probably to start off.
No. Well, we got to start outside the park before you go in. And it's great. You're in Florida there, and you have the Florida one. I have more of the Disneyland perspective because, of course, that's where it all started, was Disneyland before it went to Disney World.
Oh my gosh, you need to go to Disneyland? Hang on.
You got me covered.
Yeah. Look at this. This is crazy. All right, so we are. It's amazing how technology, rather than even needing to travel. Whee! And away we go. We gotta get. Wait, why isn't it going to Disneyland?
That didn't. I was kind of
It did,
anticlimactic.
that was anticlimactic. It's like still looking. Oh, you know what? I think it's because are we? Here we go. Are we now
Now we're
moving?
going to Paris.
Oh no,
Here we
no, no,
go.
we're
Okay.
not. Whee! See, look, I know I'd figure it out somehow.
There we go. Okay.
There we go. There it is.
So Disneyland has this brilliant, brilliant design entrance, and we've talked about this so many times on Distory, but I'll just say it again: is that the people who made the parks were originally animators and filmmakers. They were not theme park designers. So the way they designed the entrance to this theme park is like the beginning of a film. So if you look at the red brick you can see in the photo there, it's very much like the red carpet of a premiere, or the carpet in a lobby, if you will. And then the Mickey Mouse, when you originally would see a film back in the day, and still now really, you would see the studio logo of the film, right? And that would tell you what it is that you're going to expect, like, from that film. It kind of was anticipating what you would see. If you saw a Universal spinning globe, it was usually like a thriller or horror. If you saw an MGM lion, that was more like somebody, like really big stars or a musical. If you saw Mickey Mouse, it was like a cartoon or an animated feature, so you knew you were going to have fun and it was going to be a magical kind of fairy tale. So that's why they put Mickey Mouse there, and that's why he's still there, is that it is the studio logo that you would see before the show. So, did you want to talk about the sides a little bit, Kirk? So it's not just all me, Jen.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So we talked a little bit about this on our color theory episode, but you'll notice that there's these little entrances, these little tunnel passageways that happen on both sides. The other thing that happens here, because we're kind of, before I enter in here, I kind of want to talk about the purpose, and this happens both in Walt Disney World and Disneyland, is the train station.
Yeah.
Can we talk about the train station?
Oh yeah,
and
please do.
significance?
I didn't mean to
Okay.
skip by it. Go for it.
No. It's hard to tell. Like, where are we gonna go? I figure we're here. We might as well continue looking here, and then we can go through the tunnel. So, if you look at both this train station as well as the one that is in Walt Disney World, they are shaped uniquely in these large buildings, particularly with large spires, and that's purposefully built to hide the one and only Disneyland Castle, aka Sleeping Beauty Castle. And you'll notice that it kind of mirrors it with the spire over here. So purposely, sightline wise, it's to easy. Are we in DCA? Did I
Yes.
I shot us across. Oh my gosh. So fast.
Everything's real
yeah,
close
so it's-
there, remember?
Yeah, right. It is. Yeah, like for me, I'm like scrolling over swampland. Also, yours seems to be in Halloween because that looks like a very unique looking
Yeah.
pumpkin right there.
Yeah,
so.
that's the pumpkin they have that's one everybody takes pictures with.
So, yeah, it's to hide our castles and even our monorail system at Walt Disney World, which can I do this quickly? Let's see. Oh, I like how what is it? Jackie goes, I feel like I'm on Soarin'. Yeah, this is like a much less relaxed version of Soaring. This would be if I actually was flying us, you know?
That was way faster than it takes me to get there.
Yeah, yeah. It's
like a whole day of travel.
But you notice the same exact mirroring of our castle, which is more centrally spire located, is the same kind of principle here. Is that we have a central spire on our train station as well, and even on the monorail, sightline wise, they don't want to give up that beautiful, gorgeous view of the castle just yet. They want it to be mammoth. They want it to be impressive. So now I can actually get to the part where we this mirrors on both parks, but these little tunnels that they have over here. You also notice that there are trees specifically here as well to obscure views. But these little tiny entranceways were purposely dark to make it look like you're in a theater waiting for the curtain to arise. And on the sides that Kate has here, you get Mr. Toad's Wild Ride. There's Snow White's. What's the new name for Snow White's Scary Adventures?
Snow White's Enchanted Wish.
Snow White's Enchanted Witch. Yeah, it seems a lot nicer than being crushed by a boulder with Snow White. You know that's
it's
probably
a lovely ride. You're gonna love it when you experience it.
Now
so
that it's
beautiful.
well, first of all, time out. I loved the one that we had that was in Princess Hall, and I love the fact that Seven Dwarfs Mine Train. The plussing of that, they've brought over elements, especially the way that the gems in the mine and Dopey. I love that. It looks so fantastic. I'm so glad you guys got plussed. I like the scarier version a little bit better, but that's a nostalgia thing, not a better attraction thing. So ignoring that. So we see our upcoming attractions, and then we are finally in to Main Street. And what's unique about when you enter into Main Street is you still can't see the castle. So when I loop this around, don't you love this? I'm telling you, this was like
brilliant.
a great addition. Great addition
so
for today.
smart.
So yeah, I'm not, stop. Come on, brain, be so smart. So come out of the tunnels, and you're still obscured by the confectionery on our side and the Emporium over here, because they want you to have to physically go down until we get to the center of Main Street before you get to see, in our case, Cindy or Snow White. I'm going to go back to Disneyland for you.
Yeah, so, and I'm going to go back through the tunnel, rewind just a little bit, because you did talk about that. It's not just like the theater darkening. They also, it's almost like a cross dissolve from one scene to another when you go through those tunnels.
Ooh,
So
like a transition.
like a fade in, fade out, you know, how it fades to black and fades back in, but it's a little more like a cross dissolve because it doesn't go totally black. So it's meant to be a cinematic transition from one place to another, again, with those previews. But I just want to just pause. This isn't necessarily 100% sightlines, but it is on what, like, coming attractions, what you can expect, setting the mood, which is really what those opening credits did, right? So the opening credits that we have are this plaque here that is so famous that says, "Here you leave today and enter the world of yesterday, tomorrow, and Fantasyland." But it didn't always say that. It originally said, "Where you leave today and visit the world of fantasy yesterday, tomorrow." Oh, wait. Yesterday. Oh, sorry. I just butchered that. "Where you leave today and visit the world of fantasy yesterday, tomorrow." I don't know. I can't see. Here's what it said. There's all these notes and it's crossed out. Now it's confusing me. So this is actually Walt's handwriting when he corrected that.
Yeah,
and
I love that.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I totally butchered the way that it said. I said, let me try to read its original form. "Where you leave today and visit the world of fantasy yesterday and tomorrow." That's what it was going to say. So he changed it to, instead of like, "Here you leave today," he changed it to "Here you leave today." And instead of, he changed it to, instead of visit, he used the word enter, which I think is so critical, distinction, that instead of visiting somewhere, we're entering somewhere. It's becoming a whole new land, this is exactly what this transition's about, right?
Yeah, when you think about the concept of entering a location versus visiting seems like very, very much so you're an audience member, where entering, you're becoming a part of the story. And I think that was the distinction in language, which was so crucial there. I guess it's better than what he wrote before that, which was like, "Yo guys, this place is probably pretty cool. Not gonna lie, I think you'll enjoy it." And then he was like, "That's probably not good enough. I don't think that's strong enough for a storytelling element."
He's like, "Come on in. The weather's fine."
I want your parents' money, and don't make me bankrupt again. Is what, but you know that doesn't have the same ring to it, I think.
No. Anyway, so sorry. I
have to. Can I pause on something? And I'm gonna do something so. It's a little bit way ahead, and I'm so sorry, but my ADD brain can't help but notice that we're in Disneyland, and we're looking past through the train station. And if you go to the Esplanade, which for those that don't know, it's not very long. I don't know how. What was this? Is 10 meters? Is what, about an inch? So honestly, what is this, like a football field? Maybe a little less.
Yeah, if that, probably less.
Yeah, yeah, it's small, right? I'm looking at the Soarin' building. How do they manage that? Because that is huge. Are they doing it mainly with the trees? It looks like it's mainly done with trees.
How they hide it, yeah. There's a lot more vegetation in Disneyland versus Magic Kingdom, like way more. Like in the hub of Disneyland has trees, which doesn't exist now, at least in the hub of Disney World at all. There's no trees in the center. So actually you can't, in certain times of year, you can see the castle at the end of Main Street, but you only see like a little piece of it until you get really close because of the trees that are in Disneyland. You only see parts of the castle till you get much closer of it because of those hub trees, which are really beautiful and they usually bloom gorgeous colors. But yeah, that sight line is a little bit abbreviated, I guess. Oh, here's a picture, a good example of it. So this is like looking down Main Street USA, and you can kind of see that there's the trees cover quite a bit of the castle.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, and while we're talking about the trees and we're on Main Street, the trees actually have a very unique purpose in Main Street USA. The ones that are in the area that is closest to the train station are much larger than the ones that are lining Main Street USA, and that is for a very specific reason, so that when you are walking out at the end of the day, you feel like the perspective is that the train station is much closer than it is, so you don't feel like it's such a long walk out of the park because the trees are big at the end of the street. And so, and the same goes with the trees are really big near the castle in the hub. So
yeah, I mean, there are a lot of trees in your hub.
Yeah, it's
I mean, it's ours just sadly, it just doesn't, I don't feel like we have much nature in any of our parks minus Animal Kingdom. Like Hollywood Studios especially just feels, and I know it's purposefully movie lot, but also silly question, where's the Snow White, the little wishing well thing? Is that over this Pixie Hollow? Is that where that is?
It's to the right of the castle. So if you're looking at the castle, it's on the pathway that goes to
Oh, it's right here. I got it.
Yeah, it's right there. Mm-hmm.
It's right there.
Yeah, it's got its little bridge, and then a wishing well's right behind that tree.
That's like your claim to fame. You are the Snow White wishing well. Well, that's technically not the wishing well.
I feel like I have the fountain, and Sarah, Disney Serotonin, she's got the wishing well because she does her wishing well ceremony in the evening. So we've got our little space over there. But I think as why we're friends, we get along.
Yeah, but your video was like, that was like one of your big hits. Was that story? That story I think was like a crazy hit for you.
Yeah, it's like 21. I haven't looked at it in a while. I think it's 21 million. It's had a lot of views, which we can actually talk more about that fountain whenever we're ready to talk about that, because that has forced perspective in it.
No, I like where we're at right now. Yeah, we're not. I mean, we're kind of in the hub, so.
Yeah, we can stay in Main Street for a little while because there's still a few things to talk about there.
Well, let's do. You know what I'll do is I'll set up some forced perspective with Main Street buildings, because that is probably where we want to be.
Yeah, and while you were talking about the, I don't think I even have a photo of this, but there are. Yeah, should we just talk about forced perspective? Should we just go there?
Yeah, I mean, you already said it, so.
Yeah. Surprise! No. So, for those of you who don't know what we're talking about, this is a very, very common visual art trick that Disney uses to create depth of field so that it looks like something is either closer or farther away than what it actually is. And I found this is from the Sleeping Beauty castle walkthrough. This is a really good example of forced perspective. If you look at the way that floor is going off in the distance, and it makes it look like that door is like really far away, but that really is like, I'm pretty sure it's a flat scene. If not, I'm pretty sure that's just painted. So that is an example of forced perspective. It's making you look like that door is very far away from you.
It
So
always reminds
Disney,
me of, the one scene in Willy Wonka where they go through that narrow hallway and everybody's like, somebody's touching me, and like they're all stuck there, right? Because that's like a forced perspective, and he's like, wait, is he getting smaller or is he getting bigger? Hang on, I gotta pull this. Do you know what I'm talking about, or am I like way off base
yeah,
here?
I think I remember that. It's been a while since I've seen that movie.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
You hang on. We're getting to the door scene real quick because this has to be a part of conversation of forced perspective because it's a good one. I just love that people are looking at him and thinking that he's getting. Where is? Here we go. Here's some forced perspective for you.
Well, that's right. I remember that.
No, it's not. He's getting bigger.
Yeah, is he getting bigger or is the room getting smaller?
I doubt if there is any.
I doubt if any of us will get out of here alive.
Oh, you should
There,
never doubt what
there's a piece of continuity though that I can't stand in this one scene, but you can see exactly, this. Now this is literally arched up, and it is physically getting smaller. But it looks like it's just a very, very long hallway, but in fact, it's just a hallway getting shorter and shorter and smaller and smaller. I don't like when they open up this door and it's a gigantic door that's like 25 feet high, and you're like, dude, he was literally crouched over at 4 feet. Who are we kidding? Continuity issues of movies, but
Well, and that reminds me of the other another hallway that kind of looks like it goes on forever, and it visually looks like it's getting smaller and smaller, which would be the endless hallway in the Haunted Mansion.
Of course,
'Cause that is
shocker, shocker. We have to talk about.
We could sneak the Haunted Mansion in there a little bit.
Dude, somebody said to me earlier, "Is that wait?" It was like a live, and somebody goes, "Is he talking about the mansion again?" I was like, "Dude, like, have you not been around and know what we talk about? Like, this is the majority of what I talk about." But
This is
yeah,
what
there
we
you go.
do. But yeah, because of the use of two mirrors, that makes it look like it goes on forever. It's just reflecting. Like, you've probably done that trick before. You hold a mirror into a mirror, and it just looks like it goes on to infinity. But
It happens
also
at the end of Spaceship Earth as well.
Yeah,
They
that's
put
right.
those two mirrors right afterwards. So
Yep, absolutely. So
Yep.
that is another way of, you can not exactly force perspective, but it looks like force perspective, like you're going on forever. Another visual trick. So,
Yep.
hopping back over to Main Street, where they literally use force perspective everywhere in the Disney parks. And part of that is to just save money, because why would they need to build extra stories when they're going to be empty and not used? So you can see in Main Street USA, the bottom floor is a full-sized one. You've probably walked in them for shops. So they are full-size. When you go up a floor, it's a 5/8 scale. So it's 5/8 is the size of the bottom one, and then the top level is 1/2 of the bottom level in size. So it's all those buildings on Main Street use force perspective, except in Magic Kingdom for two of them. Kirk, do you know which two?
I don't. But
Okay.
hang on, before we jump ahead, just so people believe us, because they're like, I don't think it gets smaller up there. It looks big. Look at the people down here. So they're the size of this walrus, right?
You're using
Roughly.
the walrus.
So the walrus is roughly the size of that person. And if we go over here, look at how much different in size. Remember, walrus. And look at how much more. It's like half the size. And then we get even further, and whoa, it is really, really small. And that's purposefully done, and to a great extent. Which ones are... No, I don't. This is a great trivia question that I don't have the answer to. So let me... you know what? Let me guess.
Okay.
I'm going to guess Mickey's Main Street, that theater, because that theater was supposed to be an actual hotel, so that would make logical sense that that was actually made to scale. Because who would be on the second floor left? Yo, why is the first floor so roomy?
That is one. It's one reason that is correct. That's one reason they made it that way. The other one is to block the view of the Contemporary, because they don't want to see the Contemporary from Main Street USA. However, the Contemporary view is not blocked from Tomorrowland. You can see pieces of the Contemporary there, but it makes sense in Tomorrowland.
Yeah, because
it's
the
kind of a
Contemporary is
futuristic building.
modern. Yeah, yeah, it's a futuristic
So what is
one.
the other one? Good job with that one.
Yeah, that one was like logic. Now I'm in illogical mode. Is it the? It's either going to be the firehouse or City Hall is my guess, but I could be way off. I'm gonna go the firehouse.
Ding, ding, ding. You did.
Oh! Looks like I'm on fire. Put me
I
out.
feel like I need my bell.
This is the game where Kirk tries to guess to see if he knows anything.
Truthfully, not many people know that, though. And the reason is that when they were designing Main Street, they'd already drawn up a whole bunch of blueprints, and they'd already started, not construction necessarily, but they'd started plans for everything, and they had planned to put in an apartment for Walt, just like in Disneyland. Above the firehouse, there is a apartment for the Walt Disney family. But Walt, of course, passed away before Magic Kingdom was fully built. So they kept the size, the scale of it, real, as in three full stories. But they did not build an apartment. So as far as I know, it's empty up there. I have not been inside, but it's
It's just my apartment. I just haven't furnished it yet. I got to go to IKEA. So, but I'll get
love
there.
to live there.
Could you imagine? I would come down in my bathrobe. I would drink orange juice, and I would have popcorn in the afternoons.
That's
Sounds
great.
lovely, doesn't it?
With your Crocs, would be great.
They'd be like, "Oh, there he is." Or is it you'd see me like walking down these stairs? You'd hear me because it'd be all soggy Crocs. You'd hear like,
Soggy Crocs. You
and
could
I
take
also
the pole down, right? You could like go
Yeah.
down the pole. And then
I
you can
could,
climb
I
back
could,
up.
which is he put that in for fun, And then here's that theater that is also full size. So,
Which is also why it feels so big. I think it's like when you walk in, it feels very impressive because some of the first buildings you encounter are full size. So it almost tricks your brain psychologically into thinking all of these buildings are going to be full size. And the Emporium, to be fair, is also looks very full size in Disney World, not Disneyland. Disneyland, it's very tiny,
okay.
very small. But in Disney World, it feels like a full size building, even though it's not. It's just got those big columns, I think, that really stretch your eye up and trick your eye into thinking these are going to be full size buildings all the way down. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Crazy. You know what I love about all of these things, to be honest with you, is they're all just such subtleties that go unnoticed. I feel like that's almost our purpose as being Distorians, is to bring to light things that are underappreciated. I think we said that yesterday, and I think you said it in a much more eloquent way. But it was a way to appreciate those that spend so much time and attention, and we're bringing those details to light in a larger audience form, where otherwise it would be appreciated, but not necessarily given a semblance of reason. Yeah.
No, I think we did a lot of talking about that in our colors episode, and this is I love doing Distory just because they were really brilliant artists that created all of these things, and just helping illustrate them and bring them to life for people so they can see all of the rich detail and the work that went into it. I think it's really important that we remember that.
Since we have the firehouse open, this picture came up, and it's too funny not to show. Let's talk about a time where they didn't use some great detailing. This is what they refurbished. Normally what they do when they have scrim is they'll at least put the design of the building that's around it. For those that don't know, the train station over at Magic Kingdom for the longest time had just scrim around it. So in terms of the sight lines there, you were using basically scrim to pretend that
it's your imagination.
It was your
Figment approved.
It was one little spark away from being real. One thing that is very much real, though, and is not scrim and has not gone away and will not go away for a long time, are going to be those walls at Epcot. But that's
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
It's okay. We'll get there.
I have someone in my chat that Eduardo is saying, "Please don't offend Disneyland." And like I am like the biggest Disneyland fan. I will defend Disneyland all day long. I am. Kirk knows I'm 100% on board with Disneyland being so much better than Disney World. Although I love Disney World, so don't worry. I just said one thing where like I've been to both recently, Disneyland and Disney World, and I look at the Emporium. I'm like, oh, it's so cute. Like I love the castle in Disneyland more. I love the Disneyland more. It's okay.
If you're gonna love
We're okay.
something more, and you're gonna lose something from your beloved Disneyland, we win a shop. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's not really
Yeah.
much of a win, bro.
You win a shop.
Just saying, like, we win a shop. Like,
You
we
get a
really don't
shop.
get much. Yeah, I don't know. There's so many things that I love about Disneyland, too. I just haven't been there in so long, but everything about... I remember, the greatest phrase I can say about it is I always felt like it was a combination of the greatest hits and the greatest dark rides all in one compact area that is walkable within a day. You can't really do the parks completely in one day, but in terms of park hopping, it's a whole production. Now, there are things that are better now that we have Skyliners, and the bus system is a little bit more efficient now with timing that they show, although the timings are always off a little bit. But, yeah, I mean, you can't beat the fact that you literally just... You're right there.
Yeah, that, and it really does have so much history that is just you can still find history in Disney World, but it's not the same as Disneyland because it was the first. It was where Walt walked.
first.
It's hard to beat that. So,
Mm-hmm.
That being said, do you have anything more about Main Street, my friend?
I don't have anything. So let's mosey.
Do we want to talk a
Let's
little
get
bit
into
more
that
about
hub and spoke.
Hub and spoke? Okay, let's talk about hub and spoke, and then maybe we can talk about some forced perspective other places.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of it. Can I do reverse when we get to that point? Because I got a good example of that.
Of course.
Okay.
So this hub and spoke wheel design, this was that was largely, I don't have this prep, so I'm going to pull it out of my brain. So that design was largely from Walt touring a lot of other parks and recognizing that he only wanted one point of entry into the park. He didn't want you to be able to come from like the north and the south and the east and the west. He's like, let's have one, because then you can control the show and you can also control a lot of other features for safety and all the entrance and whatnot. But so this design was the idea of like you would never get lost. And kids wouldn't get lost because you'd always have like a place to go back to. And like no matter where you're at in the park, the castle was supposed to be your like visual cue so you could figure out where you were and you'd be able to get back into the hub from there. So, and then I have some site things going out from the hub. But do you have more about the hub you want to say before we move on from there?
Yeah, well, when we talk about sight lines in regards to the hub, I always just think about, and I'm going to go back to my beloved Walt Disney World. Look how fast this is. Man, Frontier has gotten really good. Plus, it's not as uncomfortable. All right, where am I at? Here we go. I always love how in the hub, we're now getting... So we've moved out of Main Street, so we're out of the 1800s. And now we're starting to get a perspective and a feel for all of the different areas. Now, if you look at the way that Disneyland was formed, there were so many trees around. So it's not like you exactly see every single location. But now, if we peek down Liberty Square, we notice that, okay, we're going into the 1700s. That's interesting. Now, if we look over to the left, we're going to start seeing some sight lines. And in fact, we're changing foliage. We talked about this a little bit, how the Crystal Palace, if we leave Casey's Corner, 1800s, 1888, I think was Casey's. You get to the Crystal Palace, we're talking about like Victorian, but also the concept of colonization / imperialism in Africa. So you get like this kind of random, really nice Victorian English style home in the middle of a jungle almost, especially towards the end. So from the hub and spoke sightline wise, we can see that there's an adventure. There's a giant head and skull right there too. So it's like, okay, I kind of know what we're going to get into over there. And then for Fantasyland, the best way to get into Fantasyland really is to go through the castle. So what a better way to be a part of a fantasy is to be a king, queen, princess, or knight to go through a castle. Or, I'll do the Tomorrowland one real quick. Also, I'm realizing that I stink at rotating this.
Well, can I say a little bit about that as you look that? So this whole idea was what they called a weenie, which sounds funny to us.
I'm laughing.
It comes from the idea of Walt used to have his dogs. He would have hot dogs for his dogs, and he would wave them around and get his dogs to follow him or get them to where he wanted them to go, and he'd call it a weenie. So he said, in every land we need a weenie, which is something that will draw people in. You can also call it a hook or like a visual anchor. It is something that makes you want to go into that land and explore it. And so every single land has a visual anchor, especially in Disneyland, also in the Magic Kingdom, because it was built very similarly to Disneyland. So you have Tomorrowland there. Disneyland's Tomorrowland originally had the World Clock was one of its, and also the Moonliner. The Moonliner was back there, and you're like, I want to go towards that because that's really cool. I want to go check that out. Mm-hmm. And you have in Disney World, you've got the Astro Orbiter.
Yeah, Astro Orbiter. Don't say it like that. It's a really great ride.
Well, that's what we have now in Disneyland. That's pretty much what we got. So and it's kind of like in the hub. So
I mean, it's so colorful too, and
what's it saying it like anything?
You know, one thing I don't know, Kate, and I'm like actually really thinking about it is it supposed to be like celestial / moon rock? Like, why do we have all these rocks?
Well, it's
I mean, they rock, but what is that?
I believe it's because this was it's like a meeting place for all of the people on the planet to come visit, I believe, because there's a map on that granite ball, the Kupo ball, is that what it's called? The big thing that I couldn't push and you had to push for me. That has a map to like the galaxy on it, and then it shows like where we're at.
Yeah,
so it was meant to be kind of like a meeting of like intergalactic.
So the concept is that this like gives it kind of a planetary feel.
Yeah, I believe so, but I'd have to do a little more looking up just to be sure.
Yeah, I don't know. That's something that I've always wondered and never thought about saying it out loud. Like, why do they exist? I've always just looked at them and been like, they look cool. I'll give them that.
Well, and Disneyland used to have its own version of it, but they looked like French fries. So people called them French fry rocks. They were tan. So they took them out somewhat recently just to increase traffic flow into the area. So Tomorrowland has those things. In the castle, the weenie, if you will, is the carousel spinning, especially at night. You can see it will be all lit up and it spins. And for both of the parks, that's true. Although in Disney World, when they installed that castle or that carousel, they installed it incorrectly. They installed it like crookedly. It was 8 inches off to one side, and so they reinstalled it. They moved it and put it where it was supposed to be.
I just told somebody that fun fact the other day, where somebody said, have they ever moved attractions? And I said, yes, they have. And one of them wasn't moved very far. Well, Dumbo was moved pretty far.
Dumbo was, yeah. There's been shuffling in both the Fantasylands over the years, especially Disneyland in 1983. They like reorganized the whole thing when they did the new Fantasyland. And so interestingly enough, so in Frontier, the entrance to Liberty Square for you and Frontierland for me, you have the Liberty Bell, and we have the Mark Twain is what you can see. So that is the weenie for that entrance. But one of my favorite ones is that the Adventureland, there was originally no planned hook or weenie or visual draw for Adventureland. And the reason is you have to go inside and have an adventure. The actual hook was you can't see anything and it's mysterious and you need to go in to have your adventure. So it was the
you would think in Fantasyland that Peter Pan would be the hook, but I don't know. You know, it's one of those things.
Oh, Peter Pan for Disney World? For Disneyland.
Yeah, because there's a hook
for
in
the
there,
hook.
so it would make sense that.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, can I talk about clustering for a second?
Yes, please.
Okay, so clustering. Clustering is the concept of utilizing multiple buildings really, really close. So you'll notice that there's two buildings right on the side, and they really do line up right against the angles of the cat. I'm getting tomatoed over here. I deserve that. That's fine. So the buildings actually help to bolster off any of the sidelines here. That happens a lot, and you'll actually notice that in the parks, they will use also channeling, where they'll flow traffic in one way or another, where it's kind of like dividing lines. But I think the you can see that here, like where they're literally pathing us here, but also cutting off our visibility to anything else. That happens quite a bit. In fact, one of the best channeling moments, which I'm sure you probably have, if you don't have pictures, I can pull up pictures of it. But this is also another one of those crossfades for sightlines. Is in between for us is going to be Liberty Square and Fantasyland. So right next to Memento Mori, right over here, the gift shop for the Haunted Mansion. So here's our Haunted Mansion. Boop, 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 boop. Spooky. You can go right underneath. And yeah, this is going to give us like a physical dissolve or crossfade from one section to the other. That's why it gets dark there. Or you could say it's the end of Act 1 and you're moving into Act 2, so the curtain closes and reopens. But it's also a visual cue to say that you are leaving Liberty Square and you are moving now into a land of fantasy.
And, you know, they have that same thing over there in between Frontierland and Adventureland, and also, well, in both of those transitions.
Actually, yeah, every single, because there's two specific transitions. One is over here by the Country Bears. So this section is another one of those crossfade moments. And then also over here here we go. Here's where the bathroom is right next to the Frontier Shooting Land. There we go, right here, this section. Also, just fun fact, never use this bathroom ever. Don't do it. If you got to use a bathroom and you're in Adventureland, your best bathroom is going to be over here all the way on the outside of Pirates. Nobody ever uses it because everybody goes through. Here's the show building for Pirates, which is so crazy to me. Like, you guys think about Pirates and how large the show building is for Pirates. It's insane. It's huge. It's everything over here. And
Well,
you gotta think about the train, right? So
Yeah.
like the train physically, I mean, we're going underneath it. This is where, and fun fact,
Oh, yeah.
this is where, wait, this corner or this corner?
Yeah.
I think it was this corner.
It was that. It looks like that one.
Yeah. This fun fact, this is where we went backstage for our tour. We went all the way over here and then out and around this canal. And we saw where they had the lock system for the steamboat. And then we came all the way around the shed. And this is where that Bombardment Bay Lagoon is located, where you could actually hear pirates through the wall, and where Kate and I basically hugged the wall like a bunch of goobers.
We did. Well, and was it that corner or the other one where they actually cut a hole in the wall to remove?
So the hole in the
Like
wall
image.
is actually shown here. Look, you can actually see the outline. So the hole in the wall is right here. It's actually funny because it is kind of obscure. So I would say that it is a hole in the wall kind of location.
But if you put your ear up against the wall, you can hear all the stuff happening in that.
Yeah.
The cannons firing and whatnot.
If you get close enough, where the cannons splash, you'll actually get wet too, because they've really increased that splash too. It's pretty intense now.
They do at Disneyland. You actually do get pretty wet there.
I think
Not
at Disney World you get really wet now.
No, yeah. Well, at
Oh,
Disneyland,
speaking
I was
of
like,
which-
it was like Splash Mountain.
So tomorrow I have this thing we're eating chicken sandwiches and going on rides with chickens, right? So
that.
it's a whole chicken thing, right? But in the process of trying to find Animal Kingdom attractions that have chickens on them, you would think of all places Animal Kingdom would have chickens everywhere. They don't. They really do not. So the only place that I can do it is kind of like fudging it with where they have the petting zoo. So we could use Rafiki's Planet Watch that what is it, Wildlife Express. We can use that to get out there, and that technically will be a ride with the petting zoo and with chickens. But the reason why this is significant and important and involves water and pirates, connecting it, is Cali River Rapids used to have a giant shooting geyser in like the first, I'd say like 45 seconds that would just blast the whole boat and get everybody soaked. And so many of those ride elements have not been working for a very long time. And I'm like, no wonder why I don't get that wet on Cali River Rapids in Animal
Unless
Kingdom.
those people have those elephant things squirting you, you get pretty wet then.
Yeah, well, especially if you get backed up and
He's
it's like
stuck.
stuck, then yeah,
Really
you definitely
wet. It,
get
like, sprayed
a
me in
little
the
bit
face.
soaked.
But they used to have one of those at the end of Grizzly River Run too, and I haven't seen it activated in a while. One that does like a giant one that shoots.
Yeah,
up.
it's a huge blast, but it reminds me of so much of in Pirates. It's that size blast now is so much larger in Pirates. But I just think it's so crazy when you think about sightlines, right? Like, how can we not see all of Pirates? Because it's the show building's just so big, and I mean a big part of it is they use the roofing system, and then a lot of trees. See all these trees?
Mm-hmm.
So these trees are gonna, and also the
vegetation.
trees are a big part of keeping you in the storyline and transitioning us from Pirates or the Caribbean all the way into Frontierland. So they kind of use that section to do a visual or natural cue as well.
Yes, absolutely. And yeah, it's interesting to me that there's also just like so many less trees in Disney World than Disneyland though. Like especially as I'm watching this, I'm like, wow, there's just it reminds me. I know when I'm there I always feel like way hotter, but you think it's like, oh, it's the humidity or something. Like no, there's just like less shade overall in the whole
Yeah,
park.
it's not
And I think
ideal.
it's because they need walkways. They need like a lot of places for people to walk, and I get that, but it's just like not shady at all. So
Although, coincidentally,
not
if you are walking in Fantasyland and it's late at night and you're by Gaston's Tavern, it's very shady. There's no light back there. I don't know why they don't illuminate that section,
It's
but I
super
always am
dark.
like I go to Ariel by myself and it always freaks me out. I don't know why it's so
Well, it's
dark.
interesting because that area back there, I'm realizing from like I go through my photo archives or my video archives as I'm making content, and I realize I hardly ever walk back there. Like once in a while, I'll like make the jog if I have to go on one of those rides, but there's like no reason to be back there. So
Well,
I'm like, well, I should really wander back there more, even
well,
during the
you know
day.
what? While we're talking about this area, can I talk a little bit about sightlines in Ariel?
Sure.
So, welcome to New Fantasyland, kids. Hang on, let me zoom this in a little bit. So, this is New Fantasyland, where they took out 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. They moved Ariel's Grotto. They moved the Winnie the Pooh playground. And the biggest thing is the largest two additions are going to be the Snow White and Seven Dwarfs right here in the center. Very woodsy themed. Woodsy, miney, rocky, and then the coastal area of Ariel. So it really will pull you out of the storyline if you could see that there's like the ocean over there, right? They want you to be in the woods. And in fact, that's another reason why when we lose our beloved Mr. Toad, we get the 100-acre woods right in front of it. So that was significant and important. The mountain is so large. And what's so cool about it is you can't see the other side of the mountain. So when you're looking at Seven Dwarfs, the front side is very foresty, and then the back side is very look at how our colors change too as well. So the rocky elements exist, but you're getting almost like an ocean cliff over here versus that forestry. So, again, it's blocking a lot of things from your view. But also they transition and they give you a seawall right here.
Seawall.
So we who doesn't love a good seawall?
We love seawalls.
It's crazy too. Like if you think about, look at Ariel's Grotto and how they built up all these rocks to hide this massive show building as well. And also the palace, Prince Eric's palace also helps to hide gigantic show buildings.
Yeah. Well, and it's always interesting to me, like when I first went into New Fantasyland, I was like, what the heck are these, like the arms of the castle, you know, the kind of like I was like, what are these doing here, and what, because they
Yeah,
felt so
these ones
odd.
right here.
They feel really weird, like weirdly placed, you know. And I get that it's like the inner courtyard of the castle, and then you're you know. It finally it dawned on me. I was like, okay, we're walking. This is the boundaries of the castle, and then we're walking out into the countryside. But it's like it just didn't feel obvious to me because of their placement. It felt really bizarre. Like, I mean, they're cute and all, but I was like, this is a kind of an awkward design. But I get it now that I know that I'm going into the countryside. It makes sense. And I do love the views you get through those arches. If we're talking sight lines, you can get a lot of really
It's great
beautiful
for
views.
great views, great photos, minimal shade. I could have used some more shady areas because there's not a lot of space to sit over here. Here's a good like little hack for you, right? If you're going to get some ice cream over here at Storybook Treat, by the way, I feel like Google Earth Lives and me are gonna be a thing in the future. But Storybook Treats and Friar's Nook, if you need some shaded spots, because really they have maybe 10 tables around the Friar's Nook, you're going to want to mosey, and this is a good one. We use this one a lot. You're going to want to mosey all the way to Enchanted Tales with Belle, and there's a whole entire section right here with plenty of seating, and there's lots and lots of shade, and there's also lots of trash cans. This is open now. Again, Enchanted Tales with Belle. We're going to have to bring the girls to that.
Oh, that's great.
We haven't been since it's reopened because it's really cute, and they're a lot older now, so I think they would be able to participate in the show of it so much better, and they'd probably get picked for not like just holding a dinner plate or whatever they were last time.
I know my girls were Mrs. Potts and Chip the last time we did it,
Oh,
and it was
see,
adorable.
you got
and they
the
were
best.
Like, dressed in like Belle, like Ellie was in the blue Belle outfit that I made for her, and then Genevieve was in the yellow one, and it was like the best photos I've ever had.
I'm pretty sure you stacked the cards on that, which is smart, super smart. It was a good move. Good move.
Well, they love the
Also,
movie, so.
fun fact, kiddos. Do we remember from our color theory what color that is on the back
Class,
of this show?
who
building?
remembers? Distorians.
Who remembers?
Time.
Raise your hand. Raise your hands. Got it. By the way, man, this Small World building must look. It looks like it gets so humid in there, right? Being with all the air conditioning units that keep it temperature controlled. I couldn't imagine a single doll's hair being growing in there. Who would have thought?
Okay,
All right.
so
Will you bring us back, reel us back in. I'm all over the place.
So we were in the hub, but we missed the castle. I think we got to go back because the castle uses so much forced perspective. Both of them do, and so like I've got the Disneyland one here, and this is the back of the castle, which used to be the front before they flipped it around in the scale model. They took the top and they flipped it around and put it the other way. And so this was the original front of the castle, which in my emotes for my subscribers, there is one. There's the original concept sketch for Herb Ryman uses this as the front of the castle. So you can see the definite use of forced perspective. I know this castle is way smaller than that castle, but the turrets up there, thanks Rick, the turrets up there are pretty tiny, teeny tiny when you look at them, and the top one, round one, let's see if I can point to it, this one right here, that one was, they were thought about putting a camera obscura in there once. That was an idea that they had, and then they realized it wouldn't get enough light to make it work. So it's just a turret. You can't walk all the way up into it. You can walk through the castle as a walk-through attraction, but you can't.
Yeah, but
you can't
Kate, why is one of those spires so uniquely different in gold? That's so interesting. I feel like you've talked about it, and you probably could say something again.
So this is the front of the castle, and you can see on the right-hand, this side, if you're looking at the castle, it's on the right-hand side, and that is a spire called the Viollet-le-Duc spire, which was it matches the one that used to be on Notre Dame, except on a smaller scale, and it has it's gold plated, and it was one that Walt wanted on the castle, even though it doesn't match the Neuschwanstein style of the castle from Germany. The Bavarian style doesn't match that at all. It's more of like the French Gothic style, but he wanted it, and so when Roy went on vacation, because Roy didn't want it, he made it happen, and Roy came back. There it be. So it doesn't match any of the rest of the castle, and a lot of people don't even notice it's there, but it's one of my favorite touches on the Disneyland castle.
Yeah, I absolutely love that one. It cracks me up that it even one existed and two, like he had to pay for it eventually. Like, do you know what I mean?
Sure.
But it's already there. We already bought it. We already installed it. Like, how long was he
like-
on vacation? Do you know what I mean? It's like, where do you
sure he,
get
like-
one of these spires?
Yeah, he probably ordered it made like while he was gone. Like, but
Right.
I know that it's like Roy was like, "Well, great." I bet he rolled his eyes a lot after that. Maybe yelled at him a little bit because they certainly could not afford a random spire that wasn't necessary at that point when they were building the parks. But
Maybe they found some sort of advertising to put on it, or it was sponsored by somebody.
not that spire. No, that was just.
I know, but
frivolous
like
purchase.
they should. Everything. I feel
They could.
the way that they financed the original parks really came from so much sponsorship that, it's like they found money by finding the right partner who was like okay with putting their name on a building and then giving them, a couple $100,000.
Oh, absolutely, and they still do. They're still sponsors for a lot of the attractions. So.
Think about the People Mover. People Mover just changed its audio, and it's the People Mover presented by Enterprise. You're like, okay.
Well, it was Goodyear for years and years and years. It was Goodyear.
It was Goodyear, and then it was Alamo, and now it is Enterprise. And I feel like Enterprise was probably the reason why we got new audio. Because they were like, well, I do like that our signage changed, but we'd really like to have like 3 touch points. Do you know, like I'm thinking about how like a marketing meeting would go, and totally it would be, we would like to see one audio change. We'll pay for the voice actors, blah, 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 blah. And you're like, ugh.
And then
But why
everybody
not?
gets mad at them. They're like, "You're the people that are wrecking our audio that we know."
Welcome to Progress City. So,
Progress. You can't beat progress.
You get it,
So-
always does.
One thing I want to mention before we move on from the castle is there is something related to sightlines. Some people might know what this is or have seen this on your way through the castle in Disneyland on the ground. And there's a lot of mythology around this. A lot of rumors that this is the Golden Spike, which is the geographic center of Disneyland, which it's actually not, and it never was. What this was an anchor, it was a sightline anchor for Main Street USA to make sure that the castle lined up with Main Street. And there used to be an identical one on the other side of Main Street before they put all these bricks in. It used to be right there on those bricks was the other one. So that would be, they would have the big sight line all the way down Main Street to the castle. It was basically a surveying mark is what it is. But
Yeah, I was going to say it looks like a survey marker. Speaking of which, I can't tell you anything new about the brick controversy on Main Street. Behind those silhouettes, they still haven't finished that construction, so I have no idea what is happening with the bricks over there.
Well,
and
I
the
did look
significance
back
with the
through
date.
my footage, and I do have the diamond one in my footage. I got it before they ripped it up,
exists.
so
Yeah.
it did exist, and now it's gone. I don't know what's
Mm-hmm.
happening over there. Other places we see forced perspective. If we want to think about some of those.
So do you want me to take us to my reversed one?
Yeah,
Okay.
go for it.
So I gotta zoom us out. We gotta go to Epcot for this one. We're gonna take the monorail. Please stand clear of the doors. Por favor, manténganse alejados de las puertas. Look, Solar Mickey. It's one of the larger. It's probably the largest hidden Mickey. I bet that one's bigger than the Hollywood Studios one. If you haven't seen the Hollywood Studios one, that used to exist, and you could see it a lot better. It still exists. It's just harder to see.
Yeah.
But
well, they
you
took
can
out
see-
pieces.
Yeah, exactly. And his ear isn't as painted on. It used to be very specifically painted, but yeah, you can see Mickey's eyes. You can see his ears with the ponds, and then his mouth. But yeah, let me think. Which one's bigger?
If we're gonna,
I'm gonna say the solar one. Solar
While
one's
you
bigger.
travel, I will say that in Hollywood Studios, your weenie, if you will, your visual anchor is the Chinese theater that pulls you down the street. So
Yeah, but you know
that
what's so
is-
crazy to me is if the Chinese theater is the anchor, why on earth do they never choose it as a park icon?
I know.
It's never the park icon. The park icon is the Tower Hotel. You know?
Yeah, and it used to be wasn't it the water tower before that?
It was.
think
It was the water tower before that. So like I think the reason is because the Chinese theater, they never were able to use Grauman's Chinese theater. So as a result, because of licensing issues, they're like, why would we ever self cross promote somebody else? Although, the closest it ever became to becoming a park icon was when they put the Sorcerer Mickey's hat right in front of it. So that was probably like the
Right.
closest it ever possibly got to. But
I can't
anyway.
believe they got rid of that.
I know. Well, it was cool. It was iconic, but I think they were thinking much like we're celebrating a short period of time, and things go away. Much like obviously all the 50th logo stuff, and I don't know what they're going to do with the Fab 50 statues. Do they still stay there afterwards, and they just remove the 50th emblem, or do they leave the 50th emblem to
This is where
think
they
of it as a
finally get in
commemorative?
they're gonna finally get in the eBay game and sell them on eBay.
Well,
Everybody else.
they'll sell really well. So
They would, yeah. They
okay, so we had
Probably
talked
in
about.
storage.
We had talked about force perspective. Now we're going to talk about reverse force perspective, meaning making things look smaller than they actually are versus bigger than they actually are. Because we see that on Main Street. But if you look here, we are in Epcot. This is the American Pavilion where Joey Fatone just played this stage. So if you're a big NSYNC fan, he actually was fantastic live. I really enjoyed it. I wasn't expecting to go watch Joey Fatone, but Corey wanted to for her Carpe Diem day, so off we went. But if you look at the American Adventure Pavilion and the American, oh my gosh, why am I blanking on the American Experience, I think is the name of the show? Why am I blanking on that? Anyway, this whole entire building is
Adventure.
so...
Isn't the
so-
American Adventure?
It might be the American Adventure. Yeah. Yes. Because it's the American Pavilion, American Adventure, yes. But this building houses a giant and probably one of the prettiest theaters ever that so many people never go inside. And most people have no idea that there's this gorgeous audio animatronic show that is infinitely better than the Hall of Presidents, which barely has audio animatronics and is basically a PBS documentary. Please come see this. This is an inspirational, and it will always, always have a space in American history because it talks about how we should never become complacent. We should always be striving to be better. And I think that is great for all Americans all the time. But what they
great
do in
message.
terms, it's awesome. And it's always poignant. But they use reverse force perspective to actually reduce the size of things so that this building looks like it's only, I mean, technically it's 3 floors, but they're trying to make it look like it's only 2. But that's tough to do
But it's
when it's so
five,
large.
5 stories, right?
It's
5
huge.
stories
It's,
tall.
it's gigantic.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so massive in there, and it's so pretty. Also, fun fact: if you got a lot of moolah, you can come and inside here, I believe it's in this section, is where Club 33 is. So there's a Club 33, which is an exclusive supper club slash gift shop slash alcohol. It's particularly, I guess, more significant in the Magic Kingdom because there is no alcohol served except for at table service restaurants. But Club 33, exclusive location. There's one in the American Pavilion. There's one at the Harambe House, which is to the left of the Lion King theater, and then the one in Hollywood Studios is above the Brown Derby, and then the one in Magic Kingdom is just to the right of Sunshine Tree Terrace. So yeah, yep.
Yeah, that's that's a great example of reverse force perspective. Now, I was trying to think of like other places they use force perspective. It really is like a lot of places. One is also in Disneyland. If we travel back over there, we have the Matterhorn is another great one. It's only 147 feet tall, but their use of the way that they place trees, they get smaller as they go up, which are actually placed in like individual buckets so they can pull them out if the tree dies or something. They're just like planters in there. But their use of trees all the way up helps reinforce this force perspective. And then, of course, no trees up past the tree line, making you feel like it's a mountain. This one doesn't have the waters off on this one, which makes it look really bizarre. Disneyland was having a bad day when I took
Makes
that
me
photo.
want to play like a quick little game of knockout or some sort of basketball up there.
Yeah, and there's a little half court inside it. Yeah, which if it's the Imagineering story, I think that goes inside the Matterhorn with Bob Gurr, and he finally signs the wall because he was the one that designed that world's first tubular roller coaster. He designed it. He figured out how to make roller coasters work because they needed thrill rides at Disney to compete with other parks. So he finally signs the wall in there and shoots a few hoops, and it's a really emotional moment, and I cried like a baby. So
It's
good
really
times.
kind of interesting too. The origin stories of, I won't go too crazy into it, but the origin stories of just roller coasters in general. They started out as basically being like ice luges and flumes, and then turned into train rides, and sledding rides. Then eventually got tracks, and became, more closer to the roller coasters that we know. Particularly the wooden coasters is where it started, and then yeah, the
Yeah.
steel tubular changed the game, and now the two big game changers are hybrid or monorail or single rail coasters are the biggest, newest trend in coasters. Inverted coasters were cool because they hung lower. Flying coasters were cool because you would lay on your stomach. Like it's just changing the game. You know what though? Disney isn't a coaster park. Either of them. None of
No,
them
and
are coaster
actually,
parks.
do you know that there was zero thrill rides in Disney World when it opened in 1971? There was zero. They didn't have any because they were anticipating that it would be a locals park like Disneyland. That would be a lot of their crew. They were trying to plan for it to be a destination. Obviously, they made all the hotels and resorts and things, but they anticipated their experience was with Disneyland, which was massive amounts of locals would come. And who was in Florida? Who were the locals there? Maybe an older generation, the older,
Yeah.
the what do they call them, snowbirds, like the. So that's who they thought. They're like, there's no way they're going to want these like thrill rides or anything like that. So they were not planning on having them there. And then they realized that, oh no, there's like a lot of people coming that are from other places and they want these. So they started adding thrill attractions to it, like Space Mountain and whatnot. Like, yeah, well, the Space Mountain was planned there, but you know what I mean? Like we're not originally planning to have them there. So
Yeah, I mean, when
kind
you
of
think
remember
about
the
it
Space Mountain
too, from the perspective of Walt and wanting to go on attractions so you can experience them with your kids, the first thing you don't really think about, especially of that era and time period, is let's put like a bunch of crazy Scream Fest things. Do you know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
just not a logical perspective for the time period. It wasn't
Right.
until really the rides race to make bigger, faster, more impressive happened because there was competition with particularly Universal. And I would say Knott's probably pushed Disneyland more than even Six Flags Magic Mountain because I think I mean, I guess similarly or SeaWorld kind of, but
That's
there's so
probably
much
not
competition
yeah.
down in there's so much in Orlando. So there's so many theme parks you can go to. So
So
can I also just point out something else that's just like talking about sight lines, but we're going to go into the World Showcase for a second. But I think most people will think this is kind of fun too. Is we talked about how sightline wise and color theory, here is the show building for Cosmic Rewind with blending blue. Here's Test Track, which is that metallic look. So when you're across the way, all the way over here in Morocco, it is really hard to see Test Track because it looks just shiny. It almost looks like the sun is just refracting off of something, which it is.
yeah.
And then that building basically goes away. And then when we're we had mentioned this one, how Soarin', you should be able to see how big Soarin' and the show buildings for Soarin', which are over here from Canada, because you're like right up against it. But they do a really nice job with sight lines here. Even if you're standing on this second floor, because of the tree line here and this whole entire giant waterfall section, it obscures it. Here's a fun fact about this that a lot of people don't know.
Oh no, I don't think I've ever seen it from above. That's great.
Really?
No, because
Yeah.
I remember you and I were standing there looking at it, and you're like, "This is where this thing is," and I was like, "Oh." I knew about
Yeah.
the rocks, but you told me about that.
Well, the rocks do two things. There is over here. This is that circle theater, so it's hiding this giant circle theater. But the hum of that water also is integral to hiding the sound of one of the larger generators that are on property or over there. So it actually obscures the sound of that and the theater.
Yeah, that's so neat.
But
Well,
the other thing I just want to point out, sorry, I'm still going to steal the stage.
no, that's okay.
I love showing how much space there is for just expansion. And so this is the entire refreshment outpost slash kind of Africa area, right? We have
like
Kenya
sad
right now
Africa.
here. Yeah, it is a sad Africa. There's not a lot of representation, but look at all this space that they could utilize. I mean, there's tons of room to be able to utilize. And then the other one is the Germany Pavilion has this giant show building behind it that they use as a warehouse. Part of it is for beer garden. That's over here. That's the sit-down restaurant. But this section all the way over here was supposed to be that Rhine River cruise, which was going to be a water attraction. And then they kept this space, and there's all these buffer spaces for either, and if you look at the size of the country footprints, Germany's here, you could expand and put another country here or an attraction here. Same with Italy. There's a buffer area.
That was Switzerland was supposed to go in one of those spots. I think.
Yeah, I
Germany
believe
and
Switzerland was
Italy.
going right here. Yep, exactly.
Nice.
Now all we get is like,
Sponsorship fell through.
yeah, we have like a little bit of the Alps and that raclette, that smelly raclette cheese just chilling over there.
I love
And
that
then
cheese.
your video that you did of the Mount Fuji coaster, which was supposed to be back here, which I still desperately wish they had. And I also, as much as I love Teppanyaki and Hibachi, Tokyo Dining, if that was a carousel of progress for Kabuki theater and stuff, that would have been so much cooler. But lots of buffer room
Well,
between
yeah,
Morocco
there was something about
and
that
Japan.
building, right? That like wouldn't support what they had planned to put in it. There was something.
Yeah,
about
yeah.
that.
They wanted this to be a carousel of progress that was on a second floor. Like that was always the thought, and it just never came to fruition as well. But there's so much room. There's so much room for activities.
Let's add
you
some
know,
more
and then
countries.
you have our show building for Remy is all the way back here with that go away green. So there it is.
So fun to see it from the sky.
It's funny because it's like the most obvious of go away green that this is just a giant building. I kind of wish that they would have painted it to look like the cityscape of France instead. I think that would have made more sense because we get the front facade with Gusteau and just rounding the corner, just make the rest of this backside France, because here's another one that's very, very famous. Here's Morocco. Morocco, if we look, come on, enhance. If we look at Morocco from this perspective, there's a building way far off in the distance that we can see, and that's right here. That's the Hollywood Tower Hotel. So if we zoom in, enhance, and keep in mind this red brick. If we go all the way to Hollywood Studios, directly across, we get the backside of Tower, which has that same exact red brick, and it's supposed to look like Morocco on the backside, so it blends in, but it also makes sense for the coloration of the Tower Hotel, but it's not dilapidated on the back. It's all beat up on the front, but not on the back. So that's a very particular sight line. Oh, I'm looking at Phantasmic. Hope. Let us in.
Come on,
It's
come
right
to
there.
Disneyland. You can see it.
Oh, don't be like that. I was talking about yours, and what's the name of your boat? Because I was talking about the Columbia the other day, and I can't remember what the name of your sailing vessel is.
Mark Twain.
The Mark Twain? No. Mark Twain is your paddle boat, right? What's your it's the one that has, it's the exact same as the Columbia, but it's got a different name.
No, it's the Columbia. That's what it is.
That's also a Columbia?
That is the Columbia. Then they were going to make a duplicate in Magic Kingdom, and then they didn't. They made a second steamboat instead.
Double Columbias.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that'll be easy to remember. I'll just go, well, that's the Columbia. It only exists in Disneyland, but
That's why
you
it
can
looks
eat
like
here.
identical. Remember when we were looking
Yeah.
at it from the back, and you were
no,
looking at the
I
middle, and they
remember
both said
looking at it, but
Columbia?
I don't
They
remember the
literally
back
both say
saying,
Columbia on them.
I don't remember the back side of it saying Columbia. That's the problem. I remember it being the identical ship, but all right, don't be like that.
We should do a whole episode on just the backside of things, like, because there's so many. The backside of water, the backside
Oh
of
my gosh.
the clock, the
Yeah.
backside of all the things. That would be really
now,
fun.
I have to talk about another sight line that really irks me. Can we get irked? I don't like getting irked a lot, but
Okay.
I have to get
You
Kirk
get irked,
What
and
do you
then
got?
we gotta move on. Then we'll
Okay.
do then we're going to do some forced perspectives that maybe don't work so well. So you go first.
Oh, well, that's what I'm... well, okay, I'm not doing a forced perspective.
Okay,
I'm
so-
going to do a sight line that doesn't work so well.
Okay, so we're doing sightlines and forced perspectives that maybe don't work.
Right,
as they
perfect.
should.
All right, so here's Hollywood Studios with my beloved Batu, and of course, this dirt mound is actually now the Halcyon. I miss you. But if you leave and you head up Lake Buena Vista, and then I forget what the name of this road is, but you will be able to see if you take the exit to go over behind, and you know if you're park hopping to Magic Kingdom, this is the way I would go, or if I have to go to Disney Springs. But what you will see very easily from the highway, you will see the floating spires
bad.
of Batu, and it is horrible. They look like they are
gosh.
popsicle sticks. It is one of the most incomplete and obvious fakeries, you know? And even if you're from this part of the parking lot, if you get here really early, you'll park over here, which is like by cast member parking, and you can clearly see this one is just on a pole. It's just so obvious. They look like
bad.
popsicles, like Star Wars popsicles.
Yeah,
crazy.
and they have that in Disneyland. If you're on the Disneyland Railroad and you're riding around on the train, you can see Batu
Galaxy's Edge,
just sticking
yeah.
up there too.
Ugh.
Yeah, it's just bad. I'm like, it just wrecks it because Rivers of America, you should not be seeing Batu. Like that's just wrong. You
Here's
can
the
kinda see
backside
it
of
from Hungry Bear
Indiana
too.
Jones. I feel, dude, the backside sounds like such a fun show. I am so into that. All right, let's do. What else do you have for forced perspective that is bad? I'll pull up some pictures too.
I'm going to answer this quick question before I move on. Did
Yeah.
you see the theory that they're building New Orleans Square and MK behind Splash? And that's an interesting one, Kathy, because when we were in a walking tour, month before,
They weren't doing nothing.
Splash, behind in that whole area, there's literally nothing back there. There's just kind of business as usual.
Well,
So if they it's
the
not
biggest
where
problem.
we
There's no room. There's no room back there. It's nothing
There's
but
a canal
and-
back there.
Yeah. So hang on, I'll take us to Splash real quick. Just to hang on.
And they have a lot of temporary trailers. They have the storage for all their floats is back there, and they have the roundhouse.
Here's Splash. We entered in from over here. And when you go backwards out here, this is where all those temporary trailers are. And you got to remember, there's also the railroad, so you got to deal with the railroad
That's the
somehow.
roundhouse up on the top. There is the roundhouse, I think.
That's for
Big Thunder Mountain.
For Big Thunder, is this one or this one?
I think it's that one. Yeah.
This one. So this one, and then we saw trailers though, right? Trailers
Yeah.
must have been over in this section, and this isn't updated because we saw ones over here.
Yeah.
You know what? I
Well,
think
and
the
then
round.
they're around the corner too.
Yeah,
Maybe
that
that
is
is
the
the
roundhouse
roundhouse.
because look, there's the
Yeah,
train
the
tracks
tracks.
for it. Yep. So if you don't know what we're talking about, they can actually take the trains from Big Thunder and push them over here if they need to do work on them, as well as, I believe, does the actual train go back there?
Yeah, we saw one in there.
Trains,
Yeah.
trains, planes, and automobiles. But if you look at the space, where are they going to put it, dude? Like, there's no room. This is Pirates. You're up against all this power generation and construction. The shed is for all the parade equipment. This was another parade building. I mean, it was like there's that rumor. Just
Yeah.
the
they would
only
have to
place
do
I could think of is like here. This would be it.
Yeah, there's-
Like this section right here could make it, and then, but you got to worry about the parade route. How are they going to parade route it through
Yeah.
here? I mean,
The
they would
parade route
have
and
to.
The giant trash compactor is back there too.
Yeah, that
So,
trash
I think
compactor is
that-
right here. No, that's show building.
No,
Where's that?
it's
Where is
down.
that thing? It's
No, to the right. To the right.
this thing. Yeah, there it is. It's this thing.
That thing.
Yep, it's this one. That's the show building for Splash, which is so weird. Ready? Look, here, talk about backside of things. Backside of Splash Mountain facade is like hysterical, and then also even like this kind of cracks me up because you come up the hill, that major hill. There's our little muskrat. Actually, I think muskrat might be right here where they're making the
Yeah.
moonshine. And then, but like if you could somehow see over this edge, you'd be like, oh, really?
Like, there's the trash compactor.
Yeah. I mean, dude, honestly, the best use of space that they could do, and I've said this forever, and I'll still die on this hill, is Tom Sawyer Island could easily turn into. I mean, they have all this space
They could have an
to
amazing
turn it into
restaurant over
something.
there too if they could figure it
I'm
out.
telling you,
'Cause
like
can
they
you
already
imagine?
have the restaurant in the kitchen. Make
I
this
know, but
Tiana's
it's
place
like,
on the water. And
I
the only
know.
thing they would need is they would need footbridges. You would need a
Mm-hmm.
footbridge for traffic because you can't do just the boats. Still have the boats. I like that.
It would have to be something that maybe a suspension or some sort of bridge that opens up for the boats to come through and
Yeah.
lowers down for foot traffic. But they could figure it out.
Or
Anyway,
or how about another way? How about we no, you couldn't go through well, maybe you
well, they
could
were
do
going to
it.
have a tunnel.
You could have a
We'll talk.
tunnel
We'll,
over here.
okay, but I will. I'm not going to say all of this because we're on Distory on Friday on our usual night at 5:30 Pacific and 8:30 p.m. Not Central Eastern. I'm going to talk about a tunnel and what that was going to look like. There was a tunnel planned for Disneyland at one point to Tom Sawyer Island, but I can't tell you all of it right now because we're talking about perspective. So,
Yeah.
little teaser for Friday. Tune in. So let's talk about something that is maybe not great forced perspective. One of them is, of course, the one that I was talking about in my really 21 million view video, which would be the Snow White fountain. And I think one of the reasons why that TikTok went so crazy viral, not only because it used the Encanto sound before it was popular, but because people are like, A, the water looks really gross, and B, no, she doesn't look like she's farther away. Because the idea was, okay, so
Controversy.
the real story is that John Hench messed up when he ordered these, and they weren't the right size because he couldn't convert European measurements to like US. So the Italian artist who made them to the specifications that he wrote, but he messed up. So he hid that evidence in his desk drawer for years and just said, "Oh well, the artist messed up." And he made them all the same size as like this soap box that they fit in because he was using this little European set of Snow White soaps to make his scale off of. So it was the artist that messed up, not him. So he kind of hid his crime for a long time, but he had to figure out how in the world to make these work. And so they put Snow White at the top, and there's a little deer up there who's kind of like that perspective matches Snow White. And then the dwarves were almost, not quite, but almost the same height as Snow White. So they put them lower down, and they kind of put like diverging lines on the water to make her look like she's further away or higher up or just farther from you in general to try to make the illusion that she is smaller than the dwarfs. But as almost everybody pointed out in the comments of that video, they're like, dude, she's like, no, she's not the same size, or she is the same size. Like it's not very effective to put
Was
a
it
story
this
short.
was you know what I'm realizing this was your is the dress blue or gold video.
Yes. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It's
yeah.
and you know what's so sad but so true is that controversy crushes on the internet. And
does.
even unintended controversy, because there's been plenty of times where both you and I as creators have made a video just thinking it's like innocent fun or it's like informative, and then somebody takes this like crazy road, and all these other people were looking at it from this different lens that you never even thought of, and that one explodes and you're like, but not for the reason you expected. You
Right.
know?
Yeah. That's kind of what happened here too, because it's like people were like, the color of the water's weird. What's going on with that? Or like, that's not forced perspective. Or like, it was crazy. It was a wild ride.
I like when people call me a liar. Like that didn't happen. This isn't there.
I get that a lot.
Nobody. It's funny, right? Because like you're like, oh man, I wonder why somebody would even think like somebody would just like make up this stuff for. And why would you make up something
would you
about the
bother?
statues? Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
like of all
yeah.
things to you should be like, do you know there's roaches in the burgers in Disney? What? Like that would get like a huge headline. People would be like, you found a roach in your burger. There are no roaches in the burgers.
No, that we know of. No. Yeah, no, it's interesting because like the post that I just made recently, that one, it was about Carl and Ellie from Up being inspired by Alice and Mark Davis, which it is actually true. It was from an interview of Alice that I read, plus a whole bunch of other sources that pointed her out as like they used her home for reference footage and their relationship. A whole bunch of things connect to them. It's like it's not coincidence, and she's credited in the end credits for the movie, but somebody of course is like calling me a liar, and I just had enough, so I made a TikTok
miss
to kind of...
one key operative is that it was creepy. Your professor's dating his students and then marries them. What a world.
I know.
Oh, Mark.
I'm not married to my teacher, but I'm married to a professor. But,
right, which is fine. Which is fine.
It's
Just
fine.
that, it's not like you guys met in class and he was like, hey, you know.
I know. I mean, it makes me feel better they weren't married until like 10 years later. So,
yeah.
But it's still, yeah, I know. It's a thing. But
oh, dude, I have
wild.
to do a video about, you know how like we don't like stitching or duetting people who like do history stuff? Well, I got one that I have to do. I can't let it sit.
Okay, I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah. I'm going to wait on it because it's still fresh and I want it to like die off the freshness, and then I'm going to come in and sweep with like so that they're doing well and everything's fine and nobody gets upset.
That's good. That's good. That's solid. While we're talking about controversy, so one other thing for forced perspective that I feel like is a little bit controversial, tiny bit controversial, is I am not 100% convinced that this particular castle forced perspective is very effective. And I'd love to hear your thoughts and everyone else's thoughts.
I don't think it makes me feel like it's a real castle at all. I actually, it's not even so much of, okay, well, first of all, it doesn't give you the grandeur of feeling like you're looking at a giant castle. It does not at all. And second of all, it's just like the way that they shaped everything is just, it's very uniquely different. And
for those of you who don't know what this is the Beauty and the Beast castle.
This is Beauty and the Beast. This is Be Our Guest's restaurant.
Be Our Guest. And it's like, I was looking at it, I'm like, okay, this is like, it's kind of like off in the distance from the tracks there. That might be a little bit more convincing. It is, I mean, it's super cute, but it looks like a toy sitting up on the hill to me when I look at it. It doesn't look like, oh, there's the Beast Castle and we're going to walk up to it.
I'm trying to find like right now, and I'm so bad because I don't know it, I know that's Haunted Mansion. This is Tokyo's Haunted Mansion. I'm trying to find where they're, because they now have an amazing dark ride attraction in Tokyo Disneyland, but I can't find where it is. You know what? I might just type in Tokyo Disneyland's, I don't know what they even call the ride. I mean, this is what they understood the assignment here. That's how I feel.
Absolutely.
Like that's like, what we deserved, and we
side.
Right. Like that's not fair.
I don't know if it needed to be further back or something. It just the perspective. I just personally, I'm like, I love
mean,
it.
Look at that.
It's pretty.
Like that's you're walking into Beast Castle in this ride. It's so dramatically like this part especially. Can you pull up our picture again?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, this one. Yeah.
It's like, like if you could put a sound to disappointment, that's what it was. I mean, and then if you look at the actual Beast Castle, I mean, it's a very unique structure. I'm not saying that it's an easy task to be able to make, but it is just so. It's not even close.
I know. So every time,
but then you get inside and you forget about all of it. Like as soon as you get inside,
gorgeous.
Oh, this is the ride.
That's clearly where they put all their time and attention was inside, and they're just like, oh, maybe we should, do something on the outside.
Yeah.
I feel like that's what happened with that. But it's, I mean, it's still cute. I still love the area. Don't get me wrong. It's like, it's fine. It's just like, it's not terribly convincing as it's like forced perspective. Like, oh, that's a castle really far away. It's like, maybe it didn't work as well as Main Street did, right? The castle.
The other thing too is like, don't let this dissuade you. If you're into Beauty and the Beast, I'm also noticing I tie-dyed with my girls today, and I have a new tattoo. So I'm
like a heart
carrying a
with a
little heart. It's like little hearts
Carry
from
on
from.
with me.
Dude, I love that song so much, but I'm like a country guy, and like his that guy's rapping is like average at best. It's not great, but it's so catchy. The chorus is so good, and the message is good. So like, I love it. Yeah, not a. I would honestly, dude. If I had this as a birthmark, I would be so down because that's like a little heart. I don't know what this
So
would be.
cute.
It'd be like the heart and the heart's friends. You know, little sidekick.
It's like heart, period. Just love.
Right.
That's
I
it.
just look. Yo, I got this new tattoo. It's just straight up love, period. That's how I feel. It's just nothing but love. I don't want to talk after that. I end it. I punctuate. Yeah.
It was like periods are like passive aggressive now, right? So like passive
I don't know.
aggressive.
Maybe.
That's what I hear from Gen
Yeah.
Z. It's like you can't use
Yeah.
periods anymore.
What? Well, I know they use
thing.
they write period with a T. Period.
Period.
Yeah, it's true. No cap. That's serious.
Okay.
It's very mid.
Oh my gosh. So those are my main ones that were fail. There's a comment. I just have a couple random site things. I don't know if that's. Are we there yet? Are we there?
Yeah.
Do that.
Yeah. I mean, this is what happens. This is what happens. What do we got?
Okay. So I've told you this before, Kirk, but one of my favorite things that is something they put in to hide something.
Oh
and it's
yeah,
not your
these
usual
are
thing
fun.
that they hide.
Yeah.
So this one is in Alice in Wonderland in Disneyland. They have this outdoor vine that you go out on in your caterpillar, and then you make your way down, and then you go in a small little room, and then you come out. Okay, but it didn't used to have that small little room and come out. You just come out the vine, and then the ride ended. So it was like a long one, and there was a lot of men that did not feel comfortable, I guess, with their masculinity, I guess is the way to put it. And they felt like riding in a pink or purple or green caterpillar on this kind of like kiddie ride was a threat to their masculinity. So their Disney's way of fixing that, if you will, was planting this giant tree. So this tree, the reason this tree exists was to basically make a lot of people, I guess, feel more comfortable about riding in a caterpillar. Which just cracks me up. And they're like, it is for shade, but that's not why they planted it. Like, it's shady now. Like, it wasn't then. It was more just like coverage. So it hides something. I don't think that's a problem these days as it was then. But the tree, I'm glad the tree's there because makes it shady.
I mean,
This is not hot.
I'm not gonna lie. I am so excited. Like, I only want to be seen in that. Like, you have no idea
so
how
great.
much I love this attraction. And luckily when Mel and I were there, it had just gotten plussed. So we got all of the benefits of seeing the newly redone. And it's fantastic. Like, I saw a POV of it the other day. Just because, that's what you do when you're bored is watch Alice in
What we all do.
Yeah, oh my gosh, it's
What do you think
still
we're all doing watching you all the time?
it still hits though. That ride still to this day does not feel dated at all, even though it's been, I feel like, over a decade since they plussed it. So yeah, it's awesome. It's just so, obviously I'm a freak and have problems when it comes to like overly enjoying Alice in Wonderland, and am so bummed that we have things, but we don't have things. Do you know what I mean?
I'm sad that we don't have footage of the original one that was in Disneyland, because the one we have now was after a whole lot of renovations, and it was really different back in the day. So that maybe is a discussion for another day, but we don't have any footage of it that I know of. We have some photos, and that's it. So.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if we ever were. Yeah, I'm just bummed. I'm just going to be bummed first. I'm looking at this, and if I could go on... Here's the problem, kids. If this existed in Magic Kingdom, I don't know if anybody would follow me because I would never get off the ride. And they would be like, well, this stinks. This guy, all he does is rides Alice all the time. You know?
Yeah.
Oh, it's so
pretty great
good.
ride.
It's so, just look at it. It's like the cutest thing ever.
Yeah.
Did-
If you're on
did
your
you
own, you
see-
got to ride in the back.
Why is that? It's like a weight
Because of the way it
distribution.
balances. Yeah, the way it balances your weight. So you can't ride in the front if there's nobody with you. You got to ride in the back.
Well, put me in the back of the bus because this caterpillar needs to crawl.
Oh my gosh. And that
so
one, actually,
cool.
if we're talking sightlines, there's some beautiful views when you come out of the doors. Front at the top is like one of my very favorite parts of that ride, because all of a sudden you're opening up into, like, and you see this beautiful view of Fantasyland and the teacups spinning, and it's just gorgeous. Like, I just love the sightlines on that one. Speaking of which, if you're on a ride, Disney, I think most people know this, but it's worth saying since we're talking about the way Disney manipulates our sight, is often they will not decorate or do anything to parts of the ride where you're not supposed to be looking at, where they're not focusing your attention. So if you think of, like, this is a good example, the Haunted Mansion. We love the Haunted Mansion. This is, of course, I think they're getting evacuated from where you look at the ballroom or the Grand Hall. You see the wall behind you, just a plain black wall. There ain't nothing back there. And that's so true of so many rides. It's like they only do something to where they're turning you to look at. So one of my favorite things to do on rides is to look where I'm not supposed to
back.
look back, look around, like, stay in your car, stay firmly in your vehicle, hands and arms in, but look around at places like that, like, in creative ways that they just maybe didn't decorate or
Can I talk
did.
about one of my favorite ones to do that on?
Yeah. Please.
It's going to be on, and I actually just did it with Chris on Monday. It's Spaceship Earth. I love the Sistine Chapel. I've actually been to the Sistine Chapel. It's so beautiful, and it's like there's nothing like actually seeing it in person. But you only get one small section of it, right? And they actually paint a lot more of that mural, but it gets obscured by the scaffolding, the wooden scaffolding. But when you're entering, so you're leaving Michelangelo painting and you're heading into the printing, right? So they have like the newspapers and everything going on. You can actually look over the scaffolding and see probably 4 more vignette painted sections. So this is one where when you actually look back, it's not just like, oh, I guess they just didn't do anything there. You get to enjoy more of the scene by looking back and to the left. And you're not going to miss what's in front of you either. So it's a great it's a great way to see that one.
Ride. Yeah, that's great. I love that. And it's not always that way. Like, sometimes you can look back and see other things, but sometimes it's just nothing to see back there.
I
'Cause
always
they don't make it.
tried to peek and catch the Pepper's Ghost on Winnie the Pooh, because in my dumb head I feel like if I get like another inch I could see it, because it's the way that it's angled. It's almost like I know it's like this type of angle, like a bookended angle. I'm like, I feel like I could just see around that a little bit. I need to get
know.
evacuated just to be able to see it.
Well, and we've talked about that too on Snow White's Enchanted Wish. You can see the Blue Fairy, where she's being illuminated from, for the Pepper's Ghost effect there. If you want that effect ruined for you, spoiler alert, you just look to the right. As you, like, right when you see her, just like look to the right, because you'll see her get illuminated there.
That would actually be a really interesting one, but that's going to come from rote memorization, because I doubt anybody's ever covered it, is either moments where you can see the magic,
Yeah.
like physically see it. Maybe you never noticed that it was exactly that, but yeah, that'd be interesting.
Oh, yeah, Pinocchio, not Snow White. Thank you. Yep, I misspoke. It's in Pinocchio, because the Blue Fairy's in Pinocchio, not Snow White. They're right next
She
to
was
each
one
other.
of
My brain.
She was one of the more powerful cards from Sorcerers of the Magic Kingdom. Yeah, from that game. She was one of like the better cards.
Well, that is, yeah, sorry, I misspoke about that. So a couple other, I just have a couple random things.
Yeah, go for it.
One is also in Indiana Jones, which I know you're not terribly familiar with, but there is a place when you come out of gosh, what do you come out of? I think it's just past where you see Indy like the first time. And you go past and you go in and you see this view of, this isn't the exact view, but of this room, which is what they call the Christmas morning view. It's what the Imagineers call it. Because it's like when you come down the stairs on Christmas morning and you can see everything that's about to happen and it builds excitement for what's about to happen. There's a peak view there where you just kind of get to see it for a few seconds. You see the entire area in Indiana Jones, and it's called the Christmas
if I
morning
remember
view.
correctly, they purposely slow the vehicle down, and there's a sound. There's like a ha ha. You like there's like a monumental
it's
or
like,
like a momentous sound,
yeah.
right? Which makes you go. It evokes the response of like, "Holy cow, this is crazy."
Yeah, the car slows down and everything so that they make you take in that view fully so you can see everything. And the concept for that came from the mine train ride from Knott's Berry Farm. They have something that is, I don't think I can say the words because people made fun of me when I said it. There's a whole big area that's open in the mine shaft that they the mine cars kind of come in and out of. And it's the same kind of concept in Indiana Jones where there's this one big room and you kind of like duck out into side rooms and you come back in. So
it's really cool too. I had so much fun, and I still will always say it. Knott's Berry Farms has the best traditional log flume that has ever been made. It's really
Big
fantastic. Yeah.
Well, they were first. They were first, and like Walt Disney went on that.
I mean, they're audio animatronics, and at the end, the little hoedown, it's so cool. In the cavern section is great. There's multiple drops. It's just so well done for a traditional style audio animatronic. You know?
Yeah.
I mean, the reason why I say traditional log flume, because Splash has the one roller coaster element, which is a great surprise. It is so cool. Because you have this perception, and then they foreshadow that it's going to be like a regular log flume with some scenes by making you go down regular drops, and then they do one in the dark, and that just blows your brain. You know,
Yeah.
it's great. Also,
Yeah.
I heard that cracking limb.
You heard it?
It happens actually right as you're precipicing the hill, and it's before you get down the hill. It's like
Yeah. Yeah.
"Ugh."
It's like you're falling
Everybody's
into
going
the
over.
tree.
Right.
Yeah.
Everybody's
Yeah.
going over.
Yeah. I have to listen to it at Disneyland and see if it's really obvious there, like it is in Disney World. I think it is, but they're built slightly differently in that area, in that the scenes are. So, someone asked what we mean by Pepper's Ghost. Pepper's Ghost effect. We actually covered it in the episode. It was the ballroom episode of Distory. So we discuss it a whole lot in that one, where which is on a podcast available in the link in my bio. And also it's on YouTube. But to sum it up real quick, it's a way that they use reflection to make something look like it's a hologram-esque, but it's not a hologram. It's a reflection of illuminating something. So like the ghost that danced in the ballroom, the Haunted Mansion, for example, is Pepper's Ghost effect. So
yeah, it's just basically a really simple, great practical effect where you make a object that is real, gets reflected off of glass, and it makes it look translucent and ghostly. So you can actually make it move through inanimate physical objects too. So like you can actually have it pass through things. That's what gives it that really cool appeal.
exactly. I have just like one more. I know we're kind of over time here. But
Welcome to the junk drawer of Distory.
There's so much.
What is that,
I
a
could go
AAA
on
battery?
forever.
What is that? I don't know. Let's talk about it.
So if we're talking about sight things, I think that we can't leave that topic without talking about Animal Kingdom, because there's such an important design for sight there that some people don't even realize is kind of happening to them, but was very intentional for the Imagineers. So when you go into Animal Kingdom, I don't have the picture of it. Do you have your Google Earth, my friend?
Yeah, what do you need?
Animal Kingdom entrance, like the whole giant place where you go from the parking lot and you feel like it's the hottest place on the planet, and it's like there's no trees and it's barren, and you're dying and the sun's beating down on you, that was 100% intentional for the Imagineers. I'm always like, why don't they put trees there? Well, they wanted you to feel what the world would be like without nature. So I'm going to wait till he pulls it up.
Well, I'll tell you this much. I don't appreciate it.
Nobody does. Nobody likes it. It was intentional.
It's the worst.
Yeah.
Also, let's just talk about distance here. From this section right here, which is like the closest spot you could actually park. This is the Peacock lot, which they never park you. You're over a half a mile to the entrance. That's not a joke. You're a half a mile from here, which means if you're like, I was parked here the other day, that's almost a mile.
That's a long way.
That's like 450 elephant steps or whatever they write.
Well, and even the buses are really far away there too. It takes a long time to get. Like, I always bus it, and it's a long trek.
Well, the
parks.
even the bus, right? The bus is your closest situation, right? So the buses drop you off here, and you are shaded until you get to this corner. But like from here to there, that's still like a quarter of a mile.
Yeah,
You know,
and so
it's
see
so
that
hot.
where I'm talking about is this entrance plaza here, where there's like, you can see there's no trees, there's nothing. And that was so intentional. So it doesn't change until you go through the tap styles, and then suddenly it is like you're immersed in the jungle and nature and animals. And that was so intentional for the way that they designed this. They wanted you to understand what it's like to not have nature and then have nature, so that you appreciate what we have. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And
well,
we see that
trust
also,
me, I don't appreciate what they're doing on the way out. So, you know, I'm not a fan of anything.
going back into the world. But, gosh, do I have a photo of this? So,
Look at Dinosaur. If you want to talk about sightlines, look at how Dinosaur show building is. I mean, you just see that front part of the museum, tons of trees, and look at that big old show building. You have no idea that's there.
someone said, California Haunt says, like my backyard, the only shade tree fell down, so it's ugly back there. See, you got to plant some trees, just like Animal Kingdom. You need some trees. So this happens also in Animal Kingdom in Harambe. I don't know if you can travel over to Harambe.
Oh, that's like a hop, skip, and a jump. I'm right here.
Yeah, so Harambe, you know that a lot of these buildings in Harambe are built to be like boxes, squares, rectangles. They are meant to be, and there's not a lot of vegetation there. There is a little, there's some vegetation, but there's not as much as other places. And it's meant to be that the heat would like bounce off the buildings and make you feel like it's really hot there. But also the shapes being all boxy and squares and whatnot is like shapes that are not natural in the natural world. So they developed it as a place where you would feel very much like this is a place where nature is kind of gone, and make you miss it. That was the design of that. And then when you go into safari, all of your like journey through the safari area is all very closed in. It's very your perspective is limited, you think, as you go through that line, and even as you go on the ride, like the first part of that ride, you think of how everything is very close to you.
It's not until you hit the savannah, which is like 4 minutes in, 5 minutes.
Right. So that is intentional to make you feel like this kind of man-made world is all closed in. And then you get to, again, another Christmas morning view where it opens up to the savannah, and you feel like you can breathe, and you feel like this is how it should be, is this wide open spaces and these beautiful vistas. And that was actually, like, I read about how they designed this. This was an interview with the designers of the park. And so the whole park itself is made with sightlines in mind to make you miss nature and see what you are missing when you don't have it, which I think is just brilliant psychologically.
Yeah, we get a really, really nice Christmas morning, too, when you come out of this dense, thick jungle and then you see the Tree of Life. I mean, that is a monumental moment, too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and most people, I don't know how many people like really think about how this center section, which is called Discovery Island, is actually an island, because you don't really notice the bridge coming in. You notice the bridge when you're leaving on the other sides, but not really, even like going into Pandora, it's there, but you're not thinking about it.
Yeah, and well, all of Discovery Island too has that, like I've talked about in the Colors episode, is Safari Village there has the no theme, so to speak. It's all animals and bright colors, and it's supposed to have no narrative. And so all of Discovery Island itself, there's no narrative there. There's no like bigger story they're telling outside of like animals and nature we love. But then you go across the bridge in any place, and it's telling a very specific story in every one of these lands. So it's a palate cleanser. It was always supposed to be a palate cleanser you go back to before going into another land, so your brain would transition.
So talking about brain transitions and a brick transition that's here. So this is Dawa Bar right here. And we're going into, I can't remember what the refreshments, Tamu refreshments is over here on this side.
Yeah.
I've always noticed that there is Belgian block here. And it's separated in the middle, but it's on the ground. There's Belgian block, almost like to represent either a wall or something, but it's very distinct. And every time I look over it, I go, I should really ask Kate. I bet she could figure it out faster than I can about why there is this. If you look at it, there is nothing on this pavement. Nothing. Except for this very purposeful Belgian block area. I don't know why. I don't even know if I could find it on. Let me type real quick.
I'm trying to think. From everything I've read, I've never read anything specifically about that. I do know it's in the shapes of rectangles and squares, which is like par for the course for Harambe. Harambe itself is a village that the name in Swahili means we all pull together. And it's a fictional village that they made from several others that they just compiled. So they took a lot of reference video and photographs from several countries, not just anyone in particular. They did make it like a river town that would be, so that is kind of their ideal, but it is not any particular village. So that is really interesting, and I might have to do more research.
Tell me that's not like a thing that's purposeful. Like, why would they even bother?
Like it has to be.
It has to be something. And I always think to ask you, and because I've never if you look at it, hang on. So this is also looking at Dawa Bar right there. I mean, it is so clearly apparent. I don't know what the purpose is.
It's got to mean something. I'll definitely do some research and get back to you about that.
Yep.
Hopefully by the time I'm there in September, I'll have an answer for you.
Yeah. Just more brick and rock talk. This is normal.
Brick and rock. I'm all about the rock talk. Oh my goodness. Well, I mean, I could go on about perspectives and sightlines literally all day, but I think I'll pull it to a slow rolling stop there. So we don't go 3 hours.
I would agree with slow rolling. It was only 2 hours of sightlines and then random oddities, But that was fun.
Goodness.
Like, I hope everybody enjoyed a different style of Distory, which I think is really cool.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I do love our ones where we creep through different attractions and just kind of pick it apart piece by piece. But this was kind of a fun change of pace for a little bit.
Yeah. And I got to admit, it worked out really well with the Google Earth. I was a little bit nervous, but I feel a little bit more fluent with it. Being able to like change perspectives really, really quickly and zoom into different areas and different parts of the globe was pretty, I don't know. You guys will have to let me know if like you hate it or if you were like, that was kind of interesting.
It's really helpful for anything that's outside of an attraction. Somewhat less helpful if it's inside an attraction, which we have been for a very long time.
Yeah.
Inside the Haunted Mansion.
Yeah, I do think that the attraction stuff is great.
They liked it.
We've got it seems like everybody's into it.
Yeah.
The attraction thing is great, and I love doing attractions, but it's so narrowly focused for us. Like, I'm sure people are ready to move on from the Haunted Mansion. We're still not, but we will soon enough. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's one of those things where it's like we're really close. And then I don't know where we go. Like, I almost feel my opinion is once we get back into things and you're back, I almost feel like we should do a ride that wouldn't take more than like 2 episodes, like a couple of them.
I know.
Like a couple of like quick ones, because
Yeah.
I know we could go deep into anything for an extended period of time, but I almost feel like if we could do just a couple of different areas and get away from certain, maybe change parks, change lands, change something. Do you know what I mean? Because
Yeah,
like we can't do
no,
Big Thunder.
agree.
I can't go from this ridiculous chronicle that was over like 7 months long, and then go right into another chronicle that's another 7 months long. Like that's going from like how many long term relationships are we gonna have? We need like to have like a little period away, you know?
You have to like heal, not just rebound into something
Yeah,
else.
yeah. No rebounds into another ridiculous one. So
Not so that we have to heal from Haunted Mansion, because I'll spend all day there every day.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I agree. And I feel like, part of me is like, oh, we could do the Jungle Cruise. And like, even the Jungle Cruise is going to be a multi-episode.
what?
Like, crazy
you cannot say the
adventure.
Jungle Cruise. You could here's a ride you could say.
Carousel.
Barnstormer.
Barnstormer. Barnstormer.
That could be 2 episodes.
I know.
Max.
I feel like we should pick something though that's like.
It can't be
at least
Carousel of
couple parts.
Progress. That's multi episodes. That's like a scene
I
per
said
episode.
Carousel, not Carousel of
Oh,
Progress.
Carousel. Oh yeah,
Carousels.
Carousel.
Carousels would be-
Carousel could do it.
Carousel
Astro
would be nice.
Orbiter could do it.
Astronaut.
You know.
People Mover, maybe. People Mover might
No.
be 2,
No, that's a lot.
3.
There's a lot there. Because you have to talk about like, yeah, no. Because I would also want to talk about rocket rods, and yeah, you can't.
Oh yeah, I know.
And we'd have to talk about yours. We'd have to talk about ours. We'd have to talk about
my
rocket
gosh.
rods. There's a lot.
California Adventure 1.0. That would be like a whole season.
Yeah.
We'd have
we
to
would
break
just
it
call
down
it-
with attractions.
It would just be how Michael Eisner did us all dirty, but then it turned out okay.
Yeah. Rides that are gone. That's a good one, except that would be a multi-part one because there's so many that are
Yeah,
extinct.
rides that are gone. You could so
You could
yeah,
focus
and
in
the
like
rides
a land.
and
or a
like if you
park.
did, I've done 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea with Mark. It was like the first video production I ever did with Mark, and we did the history of a couple of defunct rides. And yeah, I mean, we did it in an hour, but we missed a lot.
Yeah. Well, you'd pick more than that. I think
Teacups.
you'd have to. Yeah.
Teacups would be a good one.
Oh, teacups would be. Yeah.
You know,
that would
that's
be-
definitely
that wouldn't be too bad.
yeah, that's easy.
Or we could do something that's like Pinocchio, how Pinocchio is represented in the parks.
Right, it could be like because like then there's not really like a right wrong in terms of when to start or when to stop. You know, it's just like how much and how many places can you find. I want to know. I have a question, which would be great, and I would have to research and ask. I don't know why our Pinocchio Village house, Pinocchio is holding a cup of coffee and an apple. I get the apple. I don't know why he has a cup of coffee. And maybe it's not a cup of coffee. Maybe it's just a mug. But he's like. He loves it. He loves both
Because
so
he's-
much.
Maybe they were trying to represent that it's an eatery. You know, it's like this is a
Well,
place.
yeah,
to get
yeah.
these
I get it.
things.
I get it. It's like a place
But,
you can
like-
get drink and food. But like, out of all things
It is
and
weird.
all vessels is really what I mean. Of all vessels that could hold
Yeah.
liquids, is a coffee
I
cup.
don't think he does that in the movie. Yeah, well, that's an interesting one for our Pinocchio episode. We'll have to add that in.
Ain't got no caffeine to hold me down.
Oh, Country Bears would be a good one too. Country Bears, I think we could do in one episode. I think we could.
All right, what
Yeah, because
planet?
it was.
What planet are you on? We would have to talk
Okay,
about we would have
2
to
or
talk
3,
about the
maybe
ski
4.
lodge and what it was meant
I
for.
know.
We'd have to talk about how when they tried to save it in Disneyland that they were going to turn it into a race car driving. Like
I know.
no,
And then how
What
it's
is-
still there in
You're a
Winnie the Pooh.
fool.
I know.
You're a fool. You can't do like
know.
it has to be simplistic.
Someone, let's see, Chloe likes on my Carpe Diem day when we counted the mouse on the teacups. Yeah, that was fun. 'Cause we
Oh,
don't
the
have that
shooting
anymore.
range, the Frontier shooting range would be fun. Actually, you know what would be
Oh,
really
yeah.
fun? I feel like we could do an episode And it doesn't have to be all of them, but maybe we take like one or two defunct stores on Main Street, like and go like Disneyland. Like we could probably just pick one vintage opening day Disneyland, because there was tons and controversial ones. Ooh.
I know,
Do you need a brassiere?
the bra shop? Yeah.
Yeah, like what are we doing?
Well, and everybody loved the Pendleton video that I made too. I thought everybody knew about that. I was like, nobody's gonna care about this.
It is funny how like
Pendleton.
it's little things. Yeah, it's just little things. The tangled bathrooms, sure, why not? All the good bathrooms. That's
know,
not so much of a
always
Distory,
Rapunzel's
although
represented.
we could. I think the history of trash cans is totally a thing. It's totally a
Oh
thing.
yeah, trash can. I feel like we should have a special guest
Oh really? I don't
for
think.
the trash.
You know
for
what
trash
though?
cans.
You know what's funny is like Lem better bring it, because he straight up would just show up and be like, I don't know, I like them. Like that's what he would say, and you'd be like, come on,
Like,
Lem.
that's not enough.
Come on, Lem. Like do a
Special
little
guest,
bit.
Yeah.
He'd be like, but they're so cute.
We'll challenge him.
Yeah,
We could make that a really fun
it
episode.
would be. It would be. Sweet. Do you got anything else? I feel like we're good.
I think that's.
Dude,
I
it's
think
late.
I think my
It's
phone
late.
is,
I don't
like,
even know how.
dying.
This is like a 2-hour episode, and we were just like supposed to be looking at sight lines. This was supposed to be like a filler episode that ends up being longer than
I
Haunted
know.
Mansion ones.
Because we love this topic, but that's our fault for picking something. We should pick something we hate next time. We can't talk
Treehouse.
about.
The treehouse is a good one.
Yeah, but that would be. It has a lot of history there, though.
I know. That's not like exactly, but I know that you and I enjoy it, but it's not like a fan favorite. It's not like we're racing to the treehouse.
No, it was on my Carpe Diem day though, and I didn't do it, and I was sad.
Jackie goes, you guys could never do a filler episode. You both talk too much.
Accurate. Thanks,
Yeah,
Jackie. Yeah,
it
it's so
is.
true. And it's,
It is.
yeah,
It is.
we like to talk. But I will say that I was looking at our podcast, and the Pirates one that we talked for like a gazillion hours, that is the most listened to episode we
Yeah, but
have.
it's episode number 1.
It's episode
You
number
know?
1, but there's ones after it that have like hardly any. So people love Pirates, I think, and they don't mind listening to us gab, I guess, about the history of it.
Well, you know what? So here's the funny thing about like a show like this is that the one hitters, the ones that are just like one episode long, probably will perform better. But I think for a historical perspective, it's better to have so much extra and more for people who really truly care. I know that we're going long tail. That's okay, because nobody else is going long tail, and it's not like we're putting out a CD album. We have to pick between like 40 songs. It doesn't matter. Like that's why we don't have seasons. That's why like it just goes on forever,
Maybe we
It's
should
like
have
Small
seasons
World. It
someday.
just never ends. We just keep listening to it.
Oh, it's Small World after all.
Sure is. Sure is. Well, you get to packing. This was a pleasure.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun, and we'll be back on Friday for some more Haunted Mansion. Why not?
Yeah. Yeah.
We're going to be doing Memento Mori.
Memento Mori. Yes. And the secret tunnel that I talked with you guys about, but I won't share anything else for now.
Secret tunnels.
Secret tunnels.
All right, guys. I will see you, and I'm actually gonna I'm gonna end this so that I have the episode separate, and then I'm coming back on TikTok because I just want to see, and I don't want to do it on the episode about ranks and all this live thing. So
And I want to mention that I'm also gonna be at. I think it's before this one airs. I will be on the 27th of August. I'm going to do a live stream from the Walt Disney Family Museum. Got permission and everything. So if you want to see a lot of the Walt Disney artifacts, tune in.
Yeah.
I think it'll probably be in the afternoon, but I'll give you a definite time as we get closer. So
yeah, that's gonna be
Really
awesome.
excited.
That's awesome. First media gig.
I know. It's
Kate's
really
big time
exciting.
now. Like first of all, she called them and she was like, "It's the Cicerone calling," and they were like, "What? What are you talking about?" And you're like, "Cicerone, you know."
No, I was just making sure I could film there, but thanks for that. That's silly.
That's not who she is.
No.
It's I'm so bad at all that stuff because once again, like I always kind of feel like I'm just like a fool with a camera or a fool with a phone. Like it's not really anything. But like then you meet people and you realize the impact you have and you go, okay, it's
Yeah.
clearly something.
Everybody
That's
wants to
nice.
meet Kirk. My kids want to see you. So someday my kids will meet you. It'd be great.
Yeah, I like when people call me the walrus or the walrus man. It always cracks me
Walrus
up.
man.
The walrus
I
man.
know, I'm like Cicerone. Anytime I go to Disneyland, the whole DVT, they're
Yo,
like,
there's the
Cicerone.
Cicerone.
I'm
Yo,
like,
Cicerone, what's up?
hey.
Yep, that's it.
Also
I
known as
had
Kate.
Yeah, I did have a young kid come up to me the other day and said, are you Walrus?" I was like, I just wanted to be like, "I am," like just use some big old tusks. I need to walk around with like Mark. I really need to come up with a wearable that's like tusks coming from your mouth.
Yeah, like the little like fake teeth or something. That'd be fun for kids. That would be a cute
Yeah.
little kid merch thing. Yeah. Oh my gosh. We could talk all night. I would love to. My phone is dying, so I better go.
Yeah. See ya.
But well, we should park this episode though for the podcast. So
Yeah,
Thank-
let's end it.
thank you everyone for joining us for Distory today in this special bonus episode talking all about sightlines and forced perspective. We really enjoyed us speaking with all of you and going over some of the ways that Disney uses what we see to impact how we experience the parks. So thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
Yeah, and much like the sight lines, we're not going to see anymore. So, see, see you guys. Have a great night. I'll restart this. I'll be back on in like 2 seconds. Bye.
Bye, Kirk.
See ya.